Welcome back to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today is April Book Club Day. That's right, we're talking about Trust Exercise by Susan Choi. And to help us break down this award-winning novel, we've brought back Brandon Taylor, the author of Real Life. And if you missed it, make sure you hear Brandon's first episode from April 1st, where he talks all about his personal love of books and his amazing novel. Everything we talk about on today's episode can be found in the link in the show notes. Before we get into the episode, I've got two little things to tell you. One, our book club pick for May is The Giver by Lois Lowry. It's a middle grade novel about a utopian society, and it was written back in 1993. We're going to be discussing the book, the story, and if this one still stands the test of time. You can hear it all on our episode on May 27th. Also, please know that today's discussion of Trust Exercise contains many spoilers. Okay, let's do it. All right, you guys, I am back this week with author Brandon Taylor. Brandon, welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, we are talking about National Book Award winner from 2019, Trust Exercise by Susan Choi. We are going to be spoiling this book, and as is rarely the case, there actually are spoilers in this book. So if you haven't read it yet, take a moment, pause this, read your little book, come on back. Or if you don't care, just know that you're telling me right now that you don't care. And so when we spoil it, don't send me a mean message being like, I can't believe you gave away the ending. Okay, Brandon, let's do it. We always start here. What did you think of Trust Exercise?
I thought it was such a romp. It was so twisty. It was so juicy. It was like Fame meets American Horror Story. It was everything. It was everything to me. I loved it.
Okay, I was very apprehensive about this book because I had heard some people be like, you're going to hate it. And I was like, okay, well, I hate everything. Loved it. I was a theater major. No one told me this book was about theater kids doing Meisner technique repetition, but here I am reading these repetition scenes being like, I know this life. I know this life and I'm about this life. I loved the first section. I liked the second section, and the third section left me going, am I an idiot? I have to talk about this on a podcast. I have no fucking idea what I just read. But the first section, I mean, I really liked the whole thing, but the first section I was like, the element of surprise. We're talking about theater kid things. Like, here I am. I'm here for guys and dolls. I am here for them playing at the piano. Like, this is my life. Hello.
Yeah, the first section just like sucks you right on it. You're just like, oh yes, I am young again.
Yes.
Oh, these problems are not real problems, but they are everything.
And she gets like at the earnestness and the like self-importance and the sincerity and like the drama of being 15.
Oh yeah, all the sort of dumb indignities of like having a 15-year-old body.
Oh my God.
And not having wisdom,
Right.
but being so perceptive.
Right. And like being so just self-absorbed in like the, oh God, it was so juicy.
Yeah, I wanted to shake all of them and to tell them like, this is not the world. Like,
Right.
But also I just felt so deeply for them. Like
Right.
I had so much secondhand cringe. I was like, oh my God. Oh. But those repetition scenes, I like felt things.
That is real. That is a real thing. Meisner. So do you know about Meisner?
Not before this book, I didn't.
So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, welcome to the rest of everyone else. No one has any fucking clue but me and the 6 people I went to college with. But so there's a guy named Stanislavski. He was like the father of modern drama, and he had disciples. And like the three most famous ones are Meisner, Adler, and Strasberg. And each one is like a different style of method acting, but it's all part of like method acting. So I'm sure you've heard that term, like people like throw it around like, oh, he's a method actor, like Al Pacino, who was Strasberg. But Meisner technique was all about repetition. And the exercises were literally sitting there and talking to each other and saying and repeating the lines over and over until your teacher decides you're done. Or like you feel like you've run your course. And like reading it in a book is weird and also great. But seeing it in real life is also very weird and great. So it was kind of fun to see that technique in a book.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so, I mean, also that technique is kind of like a handy metaphor just for like the process of like writing, because it is like passing these like little materials back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it changing subtly each time until like something new emerges from it. And when do you choose to sever that repetition? And like, it's just like such a beautiful and rich like metaphor just for the process, like any kind of creative or intellectual exercise. But seeing it on the page was like, because, you know, you're kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, I get it. But because she's like written it all out, you don't get to escape it until she chooses to let you go. So there's this whole like meta thing where you're kind of locked in with the characters, and it goes on for what feels like forever.
Yeah. And it's like really just 6.
But you sort of get locked in and you feel so deeply for the characters, and you can feel them just being like, what is this? I hate this. I want to be out, but I also want to give you what you need so that you'll let me be done with this. And also we've had this horrible thing happen to between us outside of class, and now I'm locked in it with you. It's just, it's so amazing.
Right. And then the teacher, Kingsley, Jim, right? Jim Kingsley. He like, I mean, let me go back. I don't even know how I've been thinking a lot about how we would explain the book on the show, like how you explain what it is. And it's basically a girl, a teenage girl, kind of from her point of view. We follow her at her performing arts high school, and she's in love with a guy, David. Her name's Sarah. And then they like have a weird like encounter in drama class in the dark, and then they start dating and having sexy time, and then they break up, and then these people come from England, and it's like all her kind of reflections on this time in her life. That's the first part of the book. And so that's when like a lot of the stuff happens. But they have this drama teacher, Mr. Kingsley, who's like weirdly obsessed with them, but also like weirdly mean and removed from them, which feels very much like my drama teacher in high school. I think that's like just like how drama teachers are.
I think there might be something to that.
Right? like is that just like who they are?
I think so. I mean, and I guess like with that character, you know, he's kind of like an outsider in this. I mean, also it's in Texas. Like he's like this outsider.
But she doesn't say Texas, right? She says like sprawling southern city. Says Houston.
Yeah.
Okay.
I assume it sounded a lot like Houston.
Okay. Sorry, you were saying something about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's like this sort of middle-aged or late middle-aged, like queer man in Texas, teaching high schoolers drama. And he clearly is just like really, he considers himself like a capital D drama, capital T theater kind of.
R-E, not E-R.
Right.
So important.
He takes it's his life's work.
Right.
And I think that there is something to I think there's something to that. Like when you're a drama teacher in sort of these like places, when your life is not gone the way that you had hoped it would.
Right.
And so you were teaching drama.
When you're teaching drama anywhere but like on Broadway.
Yeah. Or to Yale.
Right. If you're not at Juilliard, Yale, NYU.
Brown sometimes.
I don't know about Brown.
Ooh.
I went to NYU for theater, so I don't really feel like Brown counts, but like there are some other schools, I guess, like Carnegie Mellon, I would include in the list. But still, if you're teaching high school, pretty much anywhere. But yeah there's like some like a weird, like I'm going to inflict something on these students, on these kids.
He's going to make them.
Yeah. So that's part one. And then Ms. Choi decides she's just going to fuck us up by being like, hi, I'm Karen. Or what they want you to think is Karen. It's not really my name, but I'll go by Karen. And you realize that the whole first section was a book, an excerpt from Sarah's book. But that Karen is one of the people in the book, but it's all real life. And she starts telling you about her life and her experience and her relationship with Sarah and who's real and who's not. And then you go on this whole other journey through the same time period and then beyond with this other person. And it's a trip because you're like, wait, who am I with here?
And you sort of thought you understood the story, but what you find out is like, oh, oh no, I did not understand the story. And there were all these like subtle constructions that make so much sense once you get to the end of part 2 and you're like, oh, I see how all of part 1 was like carefully constructed to deflect questions about.
Well, keep going.
What's that?
Keep going.
Yeah.
Explain more about what you're saying, because I think that I missed some of this.
Well, I think that like in part 2, because it's sort of going through it all, like from the perspective of like this person who's like, I'm going to tell you the real story.
Right.
And because I know it's a story, I'm not going to lie to you.
Right.
But in part 1, like it doesn't, like it just flows so smoothly that you don't stop to question it. But there are all these like subtle things about it. Like you don't really get to go deep into Sarah's life, right? Like you don't get deep in there in the way that you would expect in a sort of proper, like if it were just like a real sort of novel.
If the whole novel was part 1.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like you don't get deep in there. And so it's like this very carefully constructed set of surfaces. So when it's revealed in part 2 that the first part was like a very carefully written book about that time period from Sarah's perspective, and Karen's pissed and she's come to collect her due. You're like, oh, I get it. Like this story is not the stable narrative I thought it was. And you know, you find out from Karen all the kind of dark, seedy stuff that was going on.
But okay, when you were reading it during part 1 about Sarah, did you like Sarah? Did you feel like you were connected to Sarah?
I don't know if I mean, there are moments where I wanted to shake her and it's like, what are you doing? These choices you are making. But I did feel, I don't know if I felt connected to her, but I felt invested in her. I was like invested in her as like a point of view character.
And then when you got to part 2 or through part 2, did you feel like you were rooting for Karen or that you liked Karen?
You know, I feel like that initial revelation at the opening of part 2 is so destabilizing that you kind of are like, wait, who's right? Who's right? But I do think that Karen is not like super likable, but I also think Karen knows that. I feel like Karen is aware that she is not the most likable heroine. And I think that what she says about Sarah in that part is right, that like Sarah's the kind of person who gets to go through life and she's always going to be the protagonist, even in someone else's story. And there's a way in which Karen really there's a way in which like Karen like admires that about her, but also is just like deeply bitter. And she's like, you don't even know what you don't know. Like you're so silly. You're such a silly little girl. And there's something about that kind of brassy edge to Karen that you kind of like really like. Even though she's kind of, you know, a kind of wallflower. She's struggling to sort of stand out.
Blah.
Yeah, exactly.
Karen, you're helping David with the books. My God, Karen, you're a cliche of yourself.
I know. She's so, oh my God.
But see, I had a hard time because I think that I was like kind of invested in Sarah. And I think that I thought part 2 was going to be David. And so I was like rooting for more of that story. So then it was like Karen. I'm like, Karen? Like, why do I have to do Karen right now? And I also never, because then I couldn't trust Sarah, I could never really trust Karen. So I felt like I spent the whole second section trying to like figure out what's going to happen next. Whereas I feel like in the first section, I was able just to kind of like believe, right? Like I didn't know anything about the book. No one had told me a single thing. I didn't even really put together that trust exercise was actually literal, like an exercise, like trust game, you know? So by the time we got to Karen, I couldn't believe anything Karen said. Like I couldn't believe anything that I was reading.
Yeah, I do think that there's something, I think a lot of that is intentional. Like I think Susan Choi is like a master. And I think that is like an intentional choice where she's gonna like so destabilize you that you don't know what to expect. And I think that there's a version of this book where it could have been that she just kind of does what she did in part 1, but with Karen. But instead you get this like very surly, angry, prickly woman telling you about all the ways that Sarah has like simplified her life and has just like gotten it wrong and has gotten away with it because, you know, she's like pretty and smart and like the golden one, you know? And so I think there's something so rich about that discomfort because like I felt it too. Like when I was reading part 2, I was like, oh, she's so mad. Also, like, I don't know if I want to relive this again. You know, like it's never comfortable. And then you see her making like, you see her decisions lead her to a place of like more and more danger.
Right.
And it just is so uncomfortable.
Did you know where she was going? Like, did you know it was going to end in a gunshot to the crotch? I mean, I think that's where it ended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
That's what I...
Yeah. No, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I thought it would end there, but I had my suspicions. Like, I knew that it was not going to end well for several people.
Well, I knew something was going to happen with a gun because she had said the thing about the Chekhov's gun. And I was like, well, if we're putting a gun here, I'm sure we're going to get a gun thing at the end. But I couldn't figure out... You're right. I was so disoriented by the shift from part 1 to part 2 that I could not figure out where I was for all of part 2. And also the thing that's really impressive about what Susan Choi does is that the style of the voice, like the voice of the characters, it feels like it really was written by totally different people. And I mean, I don't write, but that's got to be really hard.
Yeah, those two parts exist in such different registers and they're so different. And it's not just like a word choice here or a word choice there. Like, you really do feel like the sensibility that is powering both of those sections is so drastically different because these two people have had such different lives. And
it's like starting a new book. You know, when you finish a book and you start the next one, you're like, I can't get into this right now because the other voices in my head. That's kind of what it felt like at the start of part 2. I was like, I don't know what voice this is.
And it's, and it's so jarring. And it's so like, it's kind of like this mysterious voice calls out of the dark and it's like, I'm Karen. And you're like, who are you? I'm not. Ooh.
I didn't even really remember who Karen was
exactly
during part 1. I'm like, wait, which one was Karen?
I kid you not. When I first read this book, I was like, wait, who, what? And I flipped back through and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah. Like, she's not even in this book.
I flipped between the two parts, like for a solid 10 minutes, just like trying to like figure out like what was going on, because part 1 is such a smooth reading experience. Just like, you don't even know all the ways that she's ensnaring you until we get to part 2. And you're like, wait a second. I've been led into an illusion, and in part 2, all those illusions are like dropped and pulled. And there's that really, like, to me, the most prickly, painful part to like maybe the first half of part 2 is when she talks about her brother, right? Like when Karen talks about her brother and how Sarah's like, how he wasn't important to her but he is to Karen. And it's just like, so like, it just makes you realize like, oh yeah, Sarah was kind of self-absorbed. Like, oh, she just totally took this part of their shared lives and turned it into a book. And just, there were people there that she literally erased.
Right.
And yeah, I just found that so, like, it just like stabbed me right in the heart. I'm like, oh my God. Because like, which writer has not sort of lifted something? I was
just going to ask you. I mean, your book is not you, but there are connections to your life. Do you feel like it's not possible to write a book and not to erase people and things?
I think that, there's always, I think that when you draw on real life experiences, it's your job to fictionalize them.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And so that's what Sarah does.
Yeah. But then you wonder, like, did she really fictional? There's something about Karen's anger in part 2 that made me feel as a reader like, oh, like she changed some things, but it really felt like Karen felt that there had been a misappropriation of her life's materials.
Right.
And I think there's a part like early on in part 2 where she says something like, where she's not like really mad about it, but she's like, she sees all the bad writing essentially. And she's not like furious, but she's like, you could have done a better job.
Well, right. Because she says Karen is not, she's Karen. She recognizes that she's Karen, but she's like, that thing between her and Joelle really was between her and Karen. Like that she took parts of real life Sarah and real life Karen's relationship and attributed like some of the juiciest, best, most exciting parts to other people in the book. or other people in her story, which I think is probably like also really infuriating, where it's like, you're not even interesting enough to be your own character.
Totally.
We have to move it around and like make it better.
Especially because there's like an underlying assumption that relationship did not end well, right? Like that it did not end.
It feels like it did not.
Right. And so there is, on top of, you know, this kind of misappropriation of our life's materials, but it being done by a person who like betrayed her and like on a friend level, right? Like it's just, it's so complicated.
But do we think that Sarah and Karen's falling out or whatever was that for Sarah? Or do we think that Sarah just was like, now that I've been to London and had sex with Liam in London and everywhere and whatever, I'm like too worldly for all of these little high school kids, and that it was like a general with Kappa as opposed to something specifically Karen? Or do we think that there was something that we didn't get that was like there was a moment of actual severance?
I think that the book kind of suggests that neither one of these people has the real read on the situation. I mean, like, we don't really get that from Sarah's point of view. Like, we get Sarah's book.
Which we don't even really get Karen from Sarah's point of view.
Totally. And so, you know, like, there's a way that maybe, like, Sarah would have, like, a different accounting of that. But I think that the book's project is that between two people, there's no way to know what goes on between two people. Perhaps even those people don't know what's going on between them. Right. And that it's possible that, like, you can have a relationship with someone, like a real sort of deep friendship or whatever, and it go wrong for a million different reasons. But the reason you attribute it to is like hyper precise and very, very sharp because it's very obvious to you. But the actual reality of it is that it's like it's everything and it's nothing, you know?
That's so true.
And like, who hasn't had a friendship just kind of dissolve on them? And you try to like figure out what happened like 10 years later, and they're just like, well, it's because you did this thing. And you're like, wait.
Right.
No, I didn't. It was this other thing I thought. And you realize like the emotional truth of like an impact of something like to a person is like a deeply personal, often like invented fiction for that person. And that it sometimes, two people don't know what goes on between them, even when they're in it. You know?
Right. Even if it's like a positive thing.
Totally. Yeah.
Even if it's not like a breakup of a friendship or a relationship or something. I am so glad you're here to talk about this book because you're making me appreciate things that I had not understood, which happens to me a lot. Is Sarah Black?
I don't think so.
Liam says she looks like Sade.
Yeah, I mean, race in this book is real mysterious.
Very mysterious, but I did not picture her Black. And then he says that towards the end of section 1, and I was like, turn up. I was like, hello, this part will be played by Zendaya. Thank you very much.
I mean, should be. Yes.
She would be perfect.
I mean, I think that's
basically Euphoria. It's like a 1982 Euphoria.
I mean, oh my God. Mind blown. Would watch. I mean, the thing is, like, I absolutely want the series of this book that is just part 1.
Well, okay, so I have this written down. Does this make a good TV show or movie? And if it does, do you have the cast from Sarah's version be the same cast in Karen's version? Or is it slightly different actors in Sarah and Karen's versions?
You know, there's a part of me that's like, oh, just make the show part 1. But then I was like, that's just Fame.
Yeah, that's just a great television show about kids in high school.
Right. And like, we should have that for sure.
We need to just redo, or don't redo Fame, but like rewrite Fame.
Oh my God, can you imagine? And like Fame in Houston with like brown people. Wig. Oh my God. But I think like a more ambitious project would be this kind of like Rashomon sliding doors, like past, present, informing each other. And it makes me, there was like a show, I forget which network it was on, but there was a show where it was like, there was like a present day story. And then the episode would also contain like a flashbacky portion. And I cannot remember the name of the show or the network it was on, but it was like one of these shows about like people in their, like a friend group in their 20s who are still influenced by things that happened in the past.
Not How I Met Your Mother.
No, but that's, very similar. Yeah. Okay. And so like, I would love that show where it's kind of like they're slightly different.
Right.
They're you know what? It's kind of like The Affair. Have you seen The Affair?
I have not, but everyone always talks about it.
So like the thing about The Affair is it tells the same story like across the season, but it like flashes back from different characters' perspectives.
Right.
And so you'll see the same scene, but characters will be wearing a different shirt, or they'll be on opposite sides of the table. And so initially it's like really, really subtle. You don't notice it at first. But over the course of like a season, you start to see like the way that like their memories are divergent. And so like I would love a show like that, but trust exercise, where it's like all these like subtle clues that they aren't quite on the same page. Like that would be so rich.
Yeah.
I would die.
Yeah, I think it would make for a really good programming.
Plus like kids in high school having feelings.
And having sex.
Oh my God.
And like being weird and like theatery.
I feel like if this were like the early 2000s, like mid 2000s, the show would get made in a heartbeat, because like there was such an era of just like shows about like youngish people doing bad stuff.
But I feel like, I mean, maybe we're at the dawn of a new era, because I feel like Euphoria was so successful. And so, did you watch?
Yes, I love, but I also feel like it's such a departure from
That's
like,
true.
I feel like it's prestige television sort of finding plot again.
Yeah.
like it's finding.
I love plot. Thank you.
It. It's like so campy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
The last like choir scene on the streets. I don't even know. I was like, I don't know what happened, which is sort of how the end of this book was for me.
Oh my God.
Valentine's Day is upon us, and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to traceythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. Okay, let's talk about part 3. Okay, so we told you guys about part 1 and part 2. Part 3 is very short. It's 20 pages. Enter Claire. Claire? Oh, well, we didn't say this. I should go back. At the end of Karen's section, we find out that Karen has gone away for a little bit to a Jesus camp. Turns out it's actually she got pregnant by Martin, the out-of-town British theater director with an ego that is enormous.
Huge.
And a very active sex life with underage children. He impregnates Karen, I'm assuming here in America, because when her and Sarah go to England to see Liam and Martin is on tour, allegedly. She comes back, she's pregnant, she goes away for a while, then she comes back to school. That's when her and Sarah aren't talking anymore. Now, part 3 is when we are introduced to all new characters. None of them are the same names that we know them by. We don't even know if these characters are necessarily fully connected to the characters, but we're led to believe that they probably are because a lot of the things are similar. But instead of there being a Mr. Kingsley, there's a Robert Lord. And so Claire's trying to figure out who her birth mother is. And her birth mother had gone to the prestigious art school and she had gone away for a while and they don't know anything about the dad. So we're kind of led to believe that maybe that it's Karen. But we're also, it's not really clear exactly what's going on because the details don't line up they line up even less than in parts 1 and 2. What do we make of part 3?
Yeah, I mean, part three was tough for me because I had just, part 1, I was like, ooh, part 2, I was like, what's going on? But I'm into it. Part 3 was like, oh, we have had yet another twist.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it to me felt like both a perhaps too explicit nod to like the instability that's raised in part 2, and at the same time, maybe too cagey about its details.
Right.
There's a way that it just like adds this really chaotic element of instability to the book that seems like it's just trying to just like break the book in half, like and throw all the pages in the air. Like it's so chaotic,
like reckless,
and it's chaotic, but it's, if you look at the actual writing, it's like this really pristine, like straightforward scene of this girl going to the school to find out who her birth mom is.
Right.
And there are all these like hints that come up that sort of pointing to Karen. And so like to me, part 3 I was just like, what is this? What is reality?
Right.
And I still don't know what I fully think of it, except that it seems to be trying to close this loop. So you had like part 1, which was like exposed to be like a written text of a period of time in the lives of these characters. And then you had part 2, which purported to be like, like it was sort of saying that I am going to give you the actual account of how the shit went down. And like there's a space between those two things. And it seemed like part 3 was trying to add yet another element and to sort of expose part 2 as one person's version of those events. And even she had still more secrets. And so I think it's suggesting that there are infinite like nested dolls of secrets further and further down. Like it's this weird fractal of secrecy.
Right.
And so to me, like, I see the kind of big picture, like, thing it's doing. And so I can appreciate that. But just like as a reader, it was really chaotic.
It was confusing to me. I came up with a hypothesis. I don't know if anyone is doing this that I'm doing, but I went there. I have decided, based on nothing but my own thoughts, which are the truth, that Karen was Manuel and that Martin was just a figure and that it doesn't really quite hold up. But remember, Sarah exposes Manuel for having a relationship with Kingsley and then he goes away. And that's why Karen doesn't really line up, because Karen really was in Manuel. Because when Karen tries to figure out who Manuel is, she can't figure out. She's like, oh, it could be all of these different people. But really, it was a cover for her. And that Karen had a relationship, because in the end, Lord is heterosexual. He's not gay. He had a wife. So then I was like, maybe he's Claire's daddy.
I love that.
I just made it up, and it doesn't really hold water during the play, because then why is Martin there at the play? But I don't know.
I like that. I mean, I think I really, really like that. And this sort of goes to something that I think we were talking about before, which is that like really, really good art has all these like different readings like nested in it. And I think that's like an available reading of the text.
It's available. It's a stretch. I have to figure out how Martin fits because I basically erased an entire person to make my logic.
Well, so does Sarah.
That's true. That's true. Because I think I know what it is. I think that part of the book it's hard for me, and I think it's hard for people, like when we deal with what is the truth, is that oftentimes your first account is like something that you trust, right? Like, why would I start reading this book and automatically think that Susan Choi is trying to fuck with me unless I had like someone had told me, right? Like, why would I go into anything assuming that I'm being fucked with? I just think that that's like really, at least for me, that's not how I approach anything. I basically trust things until I'm told that it's a lie. And so I think that like, because she proved that she was like tricking us, then everything becomes on the table for me. Because I'm like, well, I don't know. This is a whole lie. Like, none of this was real. So basically what I'm saying is that Martin was a figment of our imagination. I
mean, I do think that like what you have just described seems to me like the whole project of the book. Like once a deception is revealed, it's suddenly like, what do you trust? And then you have Karen like whispering into our ears being like, you know, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you what really happened.
But we can't trust her either because she's got a vendetta against everybody and she's shooting people in the balls. Like, I can't trust her.
But initially she's like, I'm going to tell. But it's hard to believe her because she's like destabilizing like the narrative that we trust. But then once you like come around to like maybe like trusting her, like it flips again, you know? And
you can't trust this crazy person.
Totally. And so I think the book is just like constantly turning over like, what is the truth? What is the truth? Like all these things. And then it's revealed like another level of artifice, like more still, like, oh, all this was fake. Like, who are these people? Like, what is the truth? And it's, you know, and to me, like the most heartbreaking part of it is that you have this young woman who's like coming to this place to like get the truth. And she's trying to get the truth in a place whose like sole function is to like, I mean, education's supposed to illuminate like the truth to you, but like no one's going to tell her anything because like that would be really bad for them. Like self-preservation wins out. And so like this young woman who's like coming to find out the truth of her life, and we all know that she's not going to get any answers because like everyone, like we've heard two different accounts of how these people are like not telling the truth and not great about helping young people. We've had two separate accounts of it. And so you just know that she's walking into like, she's not going to find what she wants or what she needs. And like how heartbreaking that is that perhaps she's never going to find out the truth of her life. And even if she did track down her birth mother, like still that's like, yet more deception she kind of has to like crawl through, right? Like it's, you know, I mean, to me, that's like one of the most heartbreaking parts of the book is that you have a person for whom the facts of their life is going to always be out of reach because the point, like the truth in this novel is so unstable.
Right. I mean, we haven't even talked about like, I think what a lot of people talk about when they talk about this book, which is like the sexual assault.
Oh my God.
Because I've heard people refer to this book as like the not like the literary fiction answer to Me Too or like the artistic, you know, novel version of Me Too. And it was not that for me at all, but I do think that like the way that the sexual assault is written about, it makes it easy to kind of like not include it in a conversation like this, even though it is like such a big part of the book. It's like we stop even really looking at that because we're just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And I don't know. I mean, like, I don't have anything smart to say about that, but after that is the only thing I knew about the book going in was that it was a literary fictionalization of Me Too. And I kept waiting for that moment. And it was much more insidious and like part of the book in a way that it wasn't even a moment. Like it was just like part of like the culture at Kappa and like in such a gross way that it was just there.
Yeah, I was gonna say like which one? You know, like there are so many there's so many moments in this book that are so cringy because it's like, oh, that's inappropriate. Oh no. And it's not even like some of them aren't even like sexual. It's just like Mr. Kingsley being so inappropriate with that. And it's like, oh my God, like you are an adult. These are children. Like all of the moments in which the book subtly reminds you that these are children. And they're behaving in sort of adult ways and they're sort of moving around like adults, but there are all these ways that they I mean, they are literally children. And the book subtly reminds you. It's like, oh, I have to ask my mom if I can go here. Or like, oh, we're going to have a sleepover at mom's house. Like all of the, even, is it Karen's mom who's like super inappropriate?
Karen's mom who like gets in bed with Sarah.
Yeah. And so it's just like, the adults in this book behave in ways that are so like uncomfortable to see because they also feel so real.
It's like, who's the adult here?
Yeah, exactly. And to me, it's so insidious because you see how that assault like comes out of, like you said, like the culture. Like you see how it happened. Like you see exactly how she ended up in that place at that moment for that to happen to her. Like you see it and it's like slow motion car crash.
Well, which her are you talking about? Wow. Sarah or Karen?
I was thinking of Sarah.
I was thinking of Sarah when you said that, but also Karen.
Karen, yeah. I mean, it's
because like she's the one who ends up pregnant.
Yeah.
Like it's like not to have like oppression Olympics or anything or whatever you want to call it, but it's like Sarah has it bad, but Karen, I guess, has it even worse. But like, because the way the book's set up, we think of Sarah as the person.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the book kind of throws Emmanuel out there as like a kind of red herring in a way, right?
Oh my God, I know. I was so waiting for him to come back, which is why I forced him back.
I was devastated when he didn't come back. But, like there's a way that the book kind of uses him to sort of, it's like, okay, I was waiting for something bad to happen and it has now happened, so I can relax.
Right.
And then it hits you with like that horrible party, like
that weird party.
Or even just like that really gross, like that scene in the dark, which is like really amazing and powerful, but it's also like, whoa.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And that's so early in the book.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, like the book does such a great job of so deeply inhabiting like the young people's consciousness and like what it's like to be a peer among them, that you fall right in step with them. And so like they feel so worldly and wise and smart, and then it just, like I said, like these subtle little course corrections where you're like, oh, you're a child. Oh, no, where are we?
Right.
Oh, my God.
Right.
Why aren't you at home?
Right.
Oh, no, this is bad.
Right.
Oh, no, don't lie to your mom. Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. Like it's, all of these, the ways that the book reminds you, like,
of what you're reading.
Totally.
Like, what's going on here.
And it's so, and when it reminds you, you realize how, like, you feel implicated in it, and it's so uncomfortable.
It's true, because you're like, oh, gross. Like, that's what I've been reading about. Like, you kind of forget. And that these different, like, hashtag Me Too moments, there's so many and they're so different and layered, and some are easily identifiable and some are less. Like Karen's mom getting in bed with Sarah at the end of part 1, you're like, wait, what's going on? And then it just ends. And I'm like, Susan, I need to know what happened.
No, totally. I mean, for me, it was like that sort of the subtle distance between like the young people don't know that it's fucked up, like what's happening to them, but you do.
Right.
But you don't think about it until the book reminds you that they're 15 or 16, like until the book, it's like, oh, that is a child.
Right.
And then you've
like, oh, we can't drive. Like, can't wait to get my car. And you're like, wait a second.
But you've been going along with them while they've been hanging out with these like adult men who are there for like the summer. And you're like, oh, right.
Right. Like, does your mom know you're dating a 40-year-old?
Yeah.
Like,
And then you were like, why was I so okay with this 3 pages ago?
Right.
And it's because the book has like slipped you so inside of their consciousness, and they don't have wisdom. So they don't know that this is not what
they think it's like dangerous in a cool way and not dangerous in like a gross, you're going to regret this later in life and no one should be taking advantage of you way.
And the book just like strips the reader of any, like you just have no defenses until you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And there's so many moments before it gets really bad. There are all these moments where it kind of like a car swerving on a road. You're kind of like, oh, wait, we're in a car with like 3 adult men and 2 high school girls. Oh no, this is really bad. But then the book will sort of, nothing really bad happens. So you're like, okay, it's fine. And then there'll be another moment where you're like, oh, we're at a party. These are like grown men. What's going on? But then like nothing bad will happen. And the book sort of trains you in this way to just like acclimate to like, okay. Like it's like not appropriate, but I guess like nothing bad is going to happen. And then when it does happen, you're like, oh my God, why
didn't we stop this?
Why was I so like, okay, like how did my guard get dropped in this way? Am I a bad, awful person? And I think the book simulates what it's like to kind of exist in a culture that creates an air of permission around violating people's bodies,
Right.
Like it's so smart and it's so insidious.
Yeah. Yeah. She does a really good job of not making it the obvious Me Too book.
Yeah.
Because you don't need that.
No.
Like, I think the thing about like the whole Me Too thing is that when it's really obvious, everyone's on board. It's when it's weird and not obvious and there's gray, and it's like, I think that is what this book does, is it's like, who are we when it's not like Harvey Weinstein?
Yeah.
Like how do we come down on, it's like, oh, he's only 24 and she's only 16. Like, and the age of consent in England is different and we can justify this and it's not gross, but it's fucking gross.
Yeah. to me, you know, like the story of Harvey Weinstein is tragic and horrific, but like ultimately, like that is like the story of a monster, and the monster is so identifiable.
Right.
And so like to me, like that is like, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. But to me, what's like an interesting story is a story about the ways in which we as a culture have created this permission. You know, to me, the real monster in the room is not Harvey Weinstein exactly so much as like the culture that allowed him to hide in plain sight for so long. Like, what is that
What's
like?
That about?
We're all kind of these passive actors in a culture that allows these things to proliferate.
Right.
And I think that's what
the book does.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a smart novel about, yes, like Me Too, but not about the obvious monsters. It's about how we each sort of create an air of permission around this stuff. And it comes for us each in its own way. And to me, like, that's what makes it like a really interesting piece of art. You know, like, is it like a super even reading experience? Like, no. Like, technically, it's like very strange. Like, it's a strange book. Like, it's a weird book.
It's a weird book.
But I think it asks such important questions in such interesting ways. And and you just like never see it coming. You're just like, oh my God.
Because it's like, you know, I don't know. I keep going back to like, I don't want to read the straightforward version of this book. It's like too icky. And then it just becomes about like molesting kids, kind of, you know? And like, that's not interesting. That is gross and devastating and like objectively wrong. And this book is like much more subjective because of the way that she disorients us and because of the way that she kind of like chops it up and puts us in their brains. Like she implicates us. She brings us like to the playing field in a way where we can't just be judgy about what's going on, which I think is really good.
Yeah, she disarms us and forces us to be implicated in these systems in a way like we all are in actual life.
Exactly.
And, you know, like when I'm sitting down at the page as a writer, like I'm always interested in writing like morally complicated, like messy, nuanced takes on things because as a reader, that's what I love. Like I want the mess. I want the complication.
Right. This is a total twist, but it's really about your book, but I'm going to pretend like it's about this book. In this book, she has these characters who have these names that are like Sarah and David and Karen. And in your book, you have characters that have names like Wallace and Miller and a word that I actually don't know how to pronounce.
Oh, is it Ingva?
That's the one. I did turn to my husband and say, have you ever heard of a name that is spelled? And I've never seen it spelled. And he's like, no. When you fictionalize things that happen in and around your life, how do you decide how to name people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I just pick names the way that I always do. I always try to pick names that are like interesting to me, and that like feel right for those characters. Right. But like sometimes if you're like trying to be more meta, you can kind of like in Trust Exercise, like what is it, Mr. Lord and Kingsley, you know. And so I like sometimes being meta and playing around, but I ultimately. Yeah, I mean, there are drafts of real life that had like different names in different places, and I was just like, this is too close to the bone.
Or it's I've got like Jim and Tim.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've got to take this like 7 steps like further down the line just to like make sure that I've actually like fictionalized.
Right.
This.
Do you have people from your life come to you and say like, "Is this me?"
No. And I was so afraid that would be the case because I was once a Black gay man in a cohort of scientists in Madison. But my cohort mates, some of them have read the book and they've just been so supportive and so lovely. And nobody's like, I recognize myself. And I hope that they wouldn't because like no,
it's not them.
It's not a one-to-one in any way. I was drawing on things that I was familiar with and things that I found interesting, but ultimately it's been combined and recombined with so many different things that it's barely that. It's barely even that anymore. Yeah.
Because you're like more of a nuanced and better writer than Sarah, let's just say. Sorry, Sarah, no offense, but you kind of suck.
She was not great.
Okay. The last thing we talk about usually is the title and the cover. So the title of this book is Trust Exercise. And the cover is kind of like a reddish pink. I don't know. Depends on your eyesight, I guess. And then these green folding chairs all over. They're kind of like pretty green color. And then it has like a cream trust exercise, and it's kind of hidden in front and behind of the chairs. What do we think of these cover and title?
I'm so angry about the title because it is so good, and I wish I could steal it for myself. It's like so good. I mean, it does all the things a great title does. It like suggests the story on a sort of surface level.
Right.
It also suggests the story on a more meta level.
Right.
It literalizes the metaphor at the heart of the book.
Yeah.
It just it works really, really well.
It does.
And the cover, I think, also is like, it also literalizes the metaphor at the heart of the book, like the chairs that they sit on to do the thing. And there's so many of them, and they're in different directions, and they're arrayed in all these like different ways. And it's kind of disorienting and mysterious.
And it's like not even what it doesn't necessarily look like what it is.
Yeah.
It took me a while to realize they were chairs.
Yeah, same.
Like, from when I first saw it.
And so it just, to me, it works. Like, it just is so, and like the font is kind of, it's kind of like snappy and youthful. Like, it looks like a flyer that you'd find taped to like a pen board somewhere, right? Like, it looks kind of like a flyer. So I don't know. I think it's really strong.
I think so too. I think it's a really good package, as they say.
They thought it through, for sure.
It just feels really smart. I also like that the green chair is obscuring some of the writing, and then some of it not, like that some of the letters are wrapped around or through. I think that's kind of cool. Like, you can't see everything from the front, but you can figure it out. And it is like very literal, and then also metaphorical. Is that right? Metaphorical?
Figurative.
That's right. Sure. Hashtag word choice. But that those things are working together in different ways. And then also, of course, that she's like asking us to trust her. You know, it's like this is a trust exercise audience with my book. But it all comes together really nicely. And the inside of the book, like your book, is not at all the same. Like, the actual book is not at all the same as the jacket, which I love.
Yeah. It's so great.
Yeah, it's really good. Is there anything else that we need to talk about this book before we get out of here?
No, I mean, it's just, I guess like we could talk. I mean, one thing is like, we've talked a lot of like deep stuff. Like, it's a deep, great book, but it's also so much fun.
It's a fun read.
It's so much fun.
You're right. That is worth saying at the end for those of you who made it this far.
And like, it wears its dark themes like in such a smart, swift way.
Yeah.
And it's not baggy. It's so much fun.
Well, and the whole first part, I kept being like, this is like kind of a thriller. Like, it's kind of thrillery. Like, you don't really know where it's going. You know something bad is happening, but it's like anything could jump. It's like a haunted house. Like, anything could jump out at you at any time, which makes it feel kind of light and fun. And I really like that.
Yeah, it's so pacey. Like, you're just, I just kept turning pages. I'm like, ooh, I want to know more. Yes, tell me everything.
Yeah. It's good. I understand why it won the National Book Award.
Totally.
Now. Though I was not happy when I hadn't read all the books, because I had one that I really liked. But this is good. It's a good book.
When I sort of make my list every year of the long list, and I had something like 5 out of the total long list.
I had 1 this year for fiction and 1 for nonfiction.
Oh, see.
I nailed it.
I could never do nonfiction.
Oh.
But sort of winnowing it down to the short list, I was like, I think Trust Exercise should, like, to me, it was like,
really?
To me, it was like the one book that I was like, if this one wins, I will be happy, which means that, of course, it will not win.
Right.
But then it did, and I was like so excited.
I know. I mean, you said last week that books and the literary world is kind of like your fantasy football. And I am actually into football, so that's not true for me. But I do love the National Book Award, and I love like how dramatic it is with like the long list, and then we announce the short list, and everyone's there, and it's like it's like the Academy Awards, and it's really fun. And it's fun to be like on book Twitter or book Instagram and like being all judgy, and people being like, I read all the books and this is the one that should win. And like, I love it.
It's one of those moments that like really unifies book Twitter. Cause like, it's just like, it's so much fun. And I do it for like also the Pen Awards. I love those. Oh my God, it's so juicy.
Those ones are soonish.
Soonish,
They're
yeah.
not. Yeah, they're at the beginning of the year.
And the Pulitzer's coming up.
At April.
Can't wait.
I know, but they need to do it like where they tell me what my options are so I can be like, this one should win. Because when it comes out, I'm like, well, okay.
I felt so proud of myself last year. I was like, these 3 books, these are going to be the 2 finalists, and like this one's going to win.
And you got it right?
Well, I got 2 of the 3 right.
I can't even remember what won the Pulitzer.
Richard Powers, The Overstory.
Did you get that?
I did not see that one coming.
That was the 2 you didn't get.
I was like, it's going to be The Great Believers. It's going to be There.
Yeah.
And my pick was Jamal Brinkley's A Lucky Man.
Oh,
which is,
interesting. I have read that.
I really love that book. But it was, The Great Believers, There, and The Overstory.
Yeah.
So I picked 2 out of them.
That's really good. I could never even attempt to do the fiction for the Pulitzer.
This year, I have no idea. This year, like the one for this year, the books that came out.
Right.
I mean, like, who knows?
I mean, my pick for the National Book Award was Colston Whitehead's Nickel Boys because I freaking loved that book. So I'm hoping that it wins the Pulitzer because I just love it. I thought it
Double
was so
Pulitzer.
good. Yeah. I mean, rare.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be trust exercise.
You do?
I think it's going to be trust exercise. And I think Nickel Boys is going to be one of the finalists.
Okay. I'll take it.
But I would be really happy if it won. Like
I
the
feel
Nickel
like
Boys.
the Pulitzer just like pulls shit out of thin air. Like less? Like what?
Oh, that book was,
That was a surprise.
It was a total surprise. My pick for that year was The Idiot. I was like, I love The Idiot. It was so much fun. But as I said, I loved campus novels. And so when Les won, I was like, oh, what is this? But then I read it. So delightful.
It's lovely. We did it on the show. I liked it fine.
It's a lovely book.
Yeah, it's cute. Whatever.
I was still startled that it won the Pulitzer.
Yeah.
But
the whole time reading it, I was like, this one, like, I don't get it. But it was cute. Like, I liked it. But it didn't stick out. I mean, that's the fun thing about book awards is like, you've no clue.
Yeah.
It's not even like acting awards where you're kind of like, okay, they owe it to Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like that.
It's like the studio spent a lot of money to support this person's candidacy for this award.
Right.
But with the Pulitzer, it's just like, it's April. It's some random day in April. I guess we're going to just like dump these out.
It's like tax day.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's like surprise. Happy April 13th or something.
Yeah.
Like,
I do wonder who will win, but I like 2019 was just like such a weird fiction year. I think 2020 is a weirder fiction year.
Yeah.
Because everything's coming out.
The more I read, the less I have a sense, I think. Because I don't ever agree with any. I never can pick. I would pick 10 books. I was like, these are going to be the long list for nonfiction. 1. Like, really? And I read a ton of nonfiction. So I was very disappointed in myself. And I think next year I'm not going to announce what I think it's going to be because I failed so bad this year.
I really like it. I post my list. Okay. Yeah. I think I had like 5 or 6 out of the 10.
That's good. I mean, I don't read nearly enough current fiction to do it.
I mean, I also hadn't read all. I mean, you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
Like you could. Sometimes it's easy to. Some years it's easier to tell than other years.
Yeah. Last year, my fiction.
I mean, it was also just like a weird year.
Yeah. I still haven't read anything from their long list, really, from last year. I mean, now this, check.
Yeah, I guess you haven't read Fleischman is in Trouble.
No.
Like that book, it's kind of like less in that it's kind of like a fun, delightful read, but it's about this like Jewish divorcing couple in New York City. And she's such a charismatic writer that I was just like, yes, just turn in the pages.
Right. I've heard people loved it.
I don't know if I loved it. I think that it's got some real craft. I had some questions on the level of craft, but she's such a charismatic writer that you just like it was I thought it was like a fine book.
Interesting.
If you've got spare time, it's one to think about.
I might do it. My list, like I'm sure your list, it's like 1 billion books.
It's basically every book.
Every book. And like every day there's more that come. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to read this.
It's every Tuesday. There are more books that publish. And I go to the bookstore in Iowa City and I go and I visit them. And I'm like, it's like looking at the new puppies, It's like, what new ones are on the table?
And and there's too many.
There are too many. Is the short answer.
Well, so I heard, this is like we're totally off topic, but whatever, before we go, I heard that this year in the fall, they're publishing less books because of the election. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Is this true?
Yeah. So I haven't seen the numbers. It's like, perhaps it's just one of those things that feels true, but there are so many books pubbing in the spring and in the early summer. And there are fewer books coming out. Normally like August, September is like a big month, less so this year. But there are some heavy hitters coming out in the fall, including Marilyn Robinson.
And the Yeah Jessie's coming out in the fall.
Is that in the fall? I thought that was in the summer. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because the Britt Bennett is in the summer.
That's right. Britt Bennett, Yeah Jessie, round 2.
I can't wait.
Yeah. It's going to be the Mothers Homegoing all over again.
I have to say, I was team the Mothers. I love the Mothers. I liked Homegoing.
Yeah.
I know, unpopular opinion alert. Everybody loves Homegoing.
But, I mean, they're not in competition.
No.
We can have both of these books.
No.
It felt, I will say that, like, that was before I sort of wrote my novel and before I, like, moved to be a writer. And it just felt like such a special time that these 2 books by Black women, one, got great advances and were just taking over the world. Like, it just felt so special. And it was delightful to see.
Yeah. I read Homegoing before this podcast and before, like, I became, like, what I like to call a professional reader. But I read The Mothers, also before. Like, right as I was getting ready to launch this endeavor. And I thought they were both really good. But The Mothers was, like, unexpectedly good for me. And I feel like Homegoing was hyped already for me by, like, the people in my life.
I see.
Which I hate the people in my life. Stop hyping shit to me. Like, just tell me every book is trash and I should read it so that I can love everything.
Oh, yeah. I feel like Britt Bennett's book is they're so different.
Yeah,
like,
they're so different.
Like, they're so different. But the thing that I liked about both is that they were so inventive. Like, there was such a spirit of ingenuity about just, like, formally. They were so interesting. And I can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah. I mean, we are totally off the trust exercise topic, but who fucking cares? And speaking of books that are amazing that everyone can't wait to see what they do next, Brandon's book, Real Life, it's out in the world. You have to go get it and read it. I'm not saying this because I'm not good at this, but, like, if it was on lists at the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'll say. It'll be on a list around here either way. But Brandon, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been delightful.
Yay. And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you to Brandon Taylor for being our guest. Also, a huge thank you to Claire McGinnis for setting up this interview. Remember, our book club pick for May is The Giver by Lois Lowry. We will discuss the book on May 27th. Find everything we talked about today on this episode in the link in the show notes. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram and at The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter, and check out our website, thestackspodcast.com. Make sure you're subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts, please take a moment to rate and review. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Takirachis. This show was created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.